Listen to the vibes.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Vibes. I'd love to welcome here Arlene Miller, who is a work-life balance coach. We're going to get to know her and have a great conversation. Before we get things kicked off, Arlene, tell us a little bit more about you.
Well, I've added the word harmony into work-life balance because I think it's kind of hard to have balance in your life now. But harmony we can bring on in there, and we can have some balance, but it's not exactly like the scales of justice in our life. I say that because I'm an attorney. I don't practice anymore. I've owned and sold two businesses, one in Ohio and one in Colorado. I was a solo in Ohio as a divorce child custody attorney, and then I did some commercial law helping businesses collect their debts. I sold the business, moved to Longmont, Colorado, where I live now. It's like about 40 minutes northwest of Denver when my son was 9, and became a partner in a small boutique firm that helped businesses collect their debts. Did a lot of that. About 6 or 7 years before I sold the business, I decided to get a diploma in transformational holistic counseling and in coaching and mentoring, and to get certified as a meditation facilitator. I was doing a lot of negotiating of settlements and the marketing for our law firm. And I just felt like law school did not teach me how to listen to people at all. And I felt like I could do a lot better with that, also with communication and settling cases. And I was right. I didn't know how to listen. But it really helped me a lot. And in my relationship, and as I was married and with my son, who's an adult and has his own kid. And then I just sort of got tired of the law. I mean, it wasn't tired of it, but it was just, is always ongoing stress with it. And so we sold the law firm, and now I just do coaching and mentoring. And the mentoring's more like transformational healing and stuff like that. The coaching is just coaching with work-life balance and harmony. And I also do a little bit of meditation stuff. And I guess that's the intro to who I am.
Well, speaking of balance and harmony, one of my biggest problems is that I am my own worst critic. I can't seem to even enjoy a small victory. It's almost like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, so to speak.
Right.
So, how do I get past that?
That is such a common problem. And I think it's sort of like genetic in families. I know that it was passed on from my grandmother to my mother to me. And my grandmother, when I was a little girl, told me, when I was adult too, she said her job was to worry about me. And I'm like, don't do that. It's like praying what I don't want to have happen. But I think what we all have is we already have these skills, but we don't know that we have them. For example, if we have a really good friend or someone we really care about, and they came to us and they started telling us all the problems that they have and where they felt stuck and where they felt that it was not working, we would be really magnanimous with them. I mean, if it was really bad, we'd do some tough love and tell them to get their head out of a dark place. But basically, we'd probably champion them, support them. If they wanted some ideas, we'd give them some. So we all really have these skills already. You sort of need it in this world. The problem is that we don't give it to ourselves. So all we really need to do is start giving ourselves permission to talk to ourselves and to champion ourselves. And I'm not saying it's easy, because if we have patterns and programs where we cut ourselves down and we make ourselves small, which I did really big time in my 20s, it takes a while to turn that ship around. And, what I did was I kind of got some groups of friends together, and we'd meet once a month or a couple times a month. And back then it wasn't even online. It didn't exist. But it was just really nice to have people that would keep me accountable. And everyone wasn't working on the same thing. We were all working on a little bit different things, but we could help each other. And I just feel like it's really important, if we have some big weakness, to come together in some kind of group where we can trust and we can help each other, if that works for you. I mean, guys are different. Sometimes they do it over beer in a bar and they just talk to each other that way. Whatever works is great, but I think we really need to be kind, patient, and tolerant with ourselves, because we've had a habit for a really long time, and maybe our parents had it or other people in our family had it, and we just took it on. It's going to take some time to do it differently and to even be semi-comfortable with it, but we sort of have to sort of fake it until we make it. And we also have to just acknowledge ourselves. Like, if we take a teeny tiny small step in any day, hopefully we do it every day. It doesn't matter how small. And it's somewhere where we acknowledged ourselves, We took some step forward. We did something that we didn't want to do. We did it first thing, we got it done with. We need to take the time to acknowledge ourselves because that builds the foundation that says, hey, I'm not, you don't have to acknowledge, we don't have to wait to write a book or do something amazing. Most of us don't. Just every little small step forward and acknowledging it and even finding a way to celebrate it helps to turn that around.
I always worry that I'm being egotistical if I acknowledge that, oh, wow, I did this and this is awesome. And I'm always putting myself down and I can't get
Right.
out of it.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people that tell us there's a lot of I got this when I was younger. You love yourself? You love yourself. There's like really egotistical, like there's something wrong with loving ourselves. But if we don't fill our own cup with love, if we don't engage with like self-care, whatever that is for us. When I was younger, I was a runner. Now I love yoga. I might go and get a massage once a month. That's the way I show myself love. Whatever it is for you, you want to get on a motorcycle, I don't care what it is. Find a way that fills up your cup with love. Because otherwise, what happens is that we give to other people because it's not okay to give to ourselves. We take on that it's not okay to love and care for ourselves. Our cup runs empty. We get dry. We get burnt out on the floor. There's one point in my life I felt like I'd been hit by a 2x4 on the floor. Didn't know when I was going to get up, and we have to give to ourselves, and then to see that the world doesn't fall apart, that these are patterns and programs that other people have told us who are dysfunctional, and we don't have to take those on anymore. And it does take a while to turn it around. And yes, the personality, the ego bit of ourselves is going to go all the reasons why we can't. And what I found is that that bit of myself was in the driver's seat. And I had to go, you're getting in the back seat now. As the soul, as the spirit that I am, we're not doing that anymore. It's not working. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being knocked down on the floor, wondering if how I'm going to get up, asking other people for their advice. And it just takes time. And once we begin to do that for a little bit and we don't we're not mean to the personality or the ego. If they want some ice cream or cake or beer, whatever it is, we can give that to them, but we still are in the driver's seat and taking charge of our life and doing things to build ourselves up. And it just takes time. If we have those things where it just feels wrong, we have to give ourselves the opportunity to practice. It's like, if you want to go run a marathon, like I said, I used to be a runner. I didn't run any marathons. I did run a couple half. You have to run a lot so you're not dying and falling down the ground when you do it. It's like anything else you want to do. You got to practice. And we all have that ability to make those changes if we just stick with it, or maybe get a support group that says, you can do it. I don't care what your little ego says over there. Put duct tape on his mouth right now. We're going to do this together. So yeah. I'm pretty passionate about it, as you can see.
Now, do you coach people on finding that balance of, how much is the proper amount of work and how much is the proper amount of family time and your spiritual part of your life and all those
Yeah.
other things that kind of fit together?
Well, as a coach, coaching is different from mentoring. Coaching is, I know that you have all the answers inside of you. And
Hmm.
so I'm not going to tell you what works for me. That's pretty darn arrogant. I'm going to ask you questions. I'm going to share insights I see about you or that you shared with me, or maybe some sort of an intuition I have, but I'm always going to hand it back to you as a coach. And what are you looking for in your life? Where do you think it's out of balance? Where would you like to have balance? Where are you getting stressed out? So I can ask questions and notice what I'm seeing in the person I'm coaching, but it's really up to them because I don't want to tell someone what to do. I don't like to be told what to do. If I'm getting coached, if I'm going to someone for mentoring, then they're standing on my shoulders and the wisdom that I have. That's different. But coaching is very much an organic process of just knowing that, like if I'm coaching you, that you have all the answers inside of you for that balance. And we always have to be adaptable and flexible because everything's always shifting and changing. If not in us, in the people or the world around us. So we can't just say, this is the way I'm always going to do it because we're going to get frustrated. But that's how I work. And once someone sort of gets the idea that, hey, I can do this myself. And I did it with Arlene and we sort of did it like this, but it feels like I should, readjust things now. I can do that. So that's my philosophy.
There's a bit of psychology that goes along with coaching.
Probably. I didn't I didn't do much in psychology. I just sort of I took one introduction to psychology in when I was going to college, and it's like all about all the abnormal stuff. And I'm like, this is not very uplifting. I don't want to be a psychologist. So I don't know, but I do have some very dear friends that are psychologists, and I admire them greatly. I basically, I did take I did get a diploma from Australia in Transformational Holistic Counseling, which is very kind of spiritually oriented or more heart oriented. I can't use it in the US because you have to get a master's degree, and already have a law degree and an undergraduate, and I don't want to go back to school again. But I just really heart connect with people. People just want to be heard. They want to be listened to. Most people, when you're sharing something with them, all they're doing is thinking about what they're going to say. So if you listen to somebody and you're fully present with them and you're not drifting off and thinking about what you're going to make for dinner or what you're going to do with friends that evening, and they can really feel that and they can feel that you care because you're there with your heart, I think that a lot of progress can happen because most people, they don't get to be in that space very often. And I went to a coaching school. I was really taught that. And I learned how to take that on so that I'm holding a big judgment free space of what I call unconditional positive regard or love for people. And and I think in that space, a lot is possible that maybe someone did never think was possible before.
My biggest pet peeve is when I feel like people are not listening to me. It drives me nuts.
It's horrible. It's like, because you can just tell they don't care at all. So why,
Hmm.
the only reason they're there is that it's a little bit manipulative. They want something from us. And it's like, those are the kind of people I just don't want to be around.
Well, I love people needing me, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I want to be needed and wanted, but I mean, like I'll do a lot of the housework, mainly because I'm at home. My wife's at work all day, and I don't want her to have to come home and do it all. And we have grown-up children that live with us and grandkids, and I, I don't mind helping out and doing a lot of this stuff, but when I come through and like clean the kitchen, and then I'll come back later and there's dishes piled up in the sink after I just got through doing dishes. That's oh, that drives me absolutely bonkers.
yeah,
And I know I've had this conversation time and time before. It's like, hey, I'm not the butler. I don't mind cleaning, but y'all can you're more capable of cleaning up after yourself. There's a dishwasher right there. Rinse your dishes off, put them in the dishwasher.
yeah. Yeah, well, that's about having clear, strong, and appropriate boundaries. And what we can do in those situations is I sit people down and say, "I've talked to you before. You're not listening.
Hmm.
If you do not do this, here are the consequences, and make them the actual consequences. Might be like you can't live here anymore, or that there won't be food in the refrigerator that's available for you. I'll put a lock on it.
Right.
You are an adult. You are a strong enough, big enough person to take care of yourself. And if you're going to be that inconsiderate, you might not be able to live here anymore. I mean, you have to. That's a far step. But sometimes people, if they're taking advantage of us, we really have to set up strong, clear, and appropriate boundaries because they've gotten away with it before, so they don't pay any attention to us anymore, and they know that maybe that you're a big teddy bear and you won't do anything about it even if you get mad. But that's it's not appropriate, it's not okay to be somebody's doormat because that's not really showing this respect and consideration that you deserve for what you're providing to them. And maybe it's a thing that you and your wife do together. She's not home all day and you're the one that's doing this, and that's great. I have a friend, he does that too. His wife is an accountant, does tax stuff, and he does the massage therapist, and he loves to cook. He keeps the house clean and massages his clients, and he has a little like house next door, like a little teeny tiny home, and that's what he does. And but their kids are grown and gone, and so they only have to clean up a mess if everyone comes over and they welcome them over. But yeah, clear, strong, and appropriate boundaries are important. And I guess if you have those other patterns and programs running, maybe it's something that you and your wife do together, and you get on the same page and say, look, these are the consequences. And we're not fooling, we're not kidding around. And, it's not, I'm not your doormat. You're not showing me respect. And I don't know, then you have to really be willing to do it. It's
That's
not easy. It's
that's
not
very
easy.
difficult for me. It's hard for me to
Yeah,
put my foot down, you know?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I used to be the same way. I used to be such a people pleaser, and I always felt like, and then I would get really frustrated and angry because I wouldn't be getting back anything from other people. And then I get mad at myself and judge myself for being angry, and then I go into that people pleaser doormat mode again. And yeah, I had some counseling actually when I was younger that helped me get out of it because there weren't any really coaches back then that did stuff like that, and I really needed someone just to listen.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'd had the same pattern in program, and I'm not really sure where I got it, but I sure did have it. Maybe, I believe in past lives. Maybe I brought it in from a past life. I don't know, but I just got to the point like I had to do something. And I did that when I was in my 20s, and it took a while to practice it, and I would feel sick to my stomach, if I
Yes.
had to do something like that, and felt like, oh my God, I'm gonna have a panic attack. And I had some girlfriends that supported me, but it did take a while, but I just couldn't do it anymore because it was really literally giving me an ulcer.
Mm.
So I
Well,
do understand, and it does take time. And yeah, there is support out there that can help that.
I feel like I'm stuck in this weird cycle because the reason why I stay home, I have a spinal disease and
Hmm.
I'm not able to work. So I feel emasculated because I'm not the breadwinner anymore. And I don't want to I don't want people to always wait on me hand and foot, that kind of thing. I still like to
Right,
have some sort of independence, and
right,
I like to feel needed. I do what I can. I have to do things a little bit at a time because I can't stay on my feet for a long time, that kind of thing.
right,
So, but at the same time, it's like, hey, I can't do all this stuff like everybody else is. You have a capable body and you're able to do it. I need
right,
you to step up and you can help. I
right,
my wife, God love her, she still comes home even when she's tired and she tries to help me out the best that she can, and she does a lot. She does a lot, but I don't want her to have the burden all on her.
right.
It's not fair.
No, it's not. And yeah, I can appreciate why you would feel that, because I'm pretty much a strong-headed person and I like to do things myself. Although it is nice to have people help me, and it just feels like she's a wonderful person. You have a lovely relationship, and this is something you can talk about and maybe decide how to handle it together because it really shouldn't be on you. And I'm sure she knows how you feel, and she's
She
staying
does.
with you for a reason because she loves you. But she is tired and she doesn't want to come home and deal with all this either. And if you come up with a game plan of how to do this, because you're not responsible for having kids that are adults and grandkids in your house to take care of them, um, you know, I don't know. All I know is that I was doing a lot of the same stuff with my son. I got divorced when he was 3, well, a little bit before that, and he developed really marked attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
Mm.
And for years, I did everything that I possibly could so that he wouldn't fail because people could tell he was different. and he didn't have any friends until he was about 11, and he got into chess, which he's very, very good at, and that's what he does as his profession now.
Oh, wow.
But I just, I was devastated as a mother. And it wasn't until like he was about 15 that a friend of mine who is a counselor and a mentor and a coach said, "Look, Arlene, I love you, but what you're doing is really arrogant. You're stopping." He came into this life to learn certain things. He needs to know what it feels like to fall flat on his face so he knows how to pick himself back up again. And so I let him fail. Let him get fired from jobs. We even had to we let him work in our office for a little bit when I had a firm, and it wasn't, he needs to be his own boss. He just doesn't work well with other people. It was the best thing I ever did. He's a really successful businessman now. He's not a perfect, but he teaches chess to before and after school programs. He loves working with kids. He runs chess tournaments. He's his own person. He has a son, and who is interesting enough is on the spectrum, and a lovely wife. But it was the hardest thing I ever did. And I never knew if he's going to go to college or if he was going to make it anywhere or if he was going to be on his own. But he pulled it together somehow. And I know there were no guarantees, but I had to go through that. And it wasn't easy, but it was like so freeing. It's like I felt like this huge weight was off my shoulders because I was letting him fail. And as heartbreaking as it was for me as a mother, it's the best thing I ever did for him.
Yeah, I brought up the fact that I feel emasculated not being able to do the things that I was able to do before. Would you be able to help someone like me to get that balance of I know that I have limits, but I want to be able to maybe push some of my limits?
It really depends on the person, Do they have an affinity working with me? Do they feel that there's something that we can do? And a lot of it is also, as a coach or as a mentor, you know, as a mentor, I can only make suggestions, and then the person needs to give it a go to implement it. As a coach, I can hold space and the person can come up with suggestions of what they want to do to change things, and then I can support and champion them. But it really comes down to the person, and a desire to to do something. And so, I could help anybody, but I think it's really important that the people that work with me or work with any other coach or any other counselor or any other mentor, anyone in the helping profession, that there's a true affinity, that you sort of feel, okay, this person gets me and the way we work together feels good. And, sometimes you have a couple of sessions with them and you go, this works, and sometimes not. And so I can't like wave a flag and go for anyone that has some sort of disability. Yeah, I can be a great coach for you. I think that would be pretty darn arrogant. I think it's coming together and then just seeing what happens. And it's really a lot what the other person feels as well. If someone comes to me and it just doesn't feel right, um, I will make sure that it doesn't happen because I'm not going to be of service to them. And some people just have problems that really require counseling. And I don't feel necessarily comfortable saying that, but I just sort of put up my strong boundaries so they're not like getting that connection with me anymore, and then they just go somewhere else.
Well, if someone is curious and they want to find out if you are a good fit, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, you can text me and just refer to you, so I'll know where you came from. That's the quickest way to find me. And my cell is 720-936-2634. Or you can go to my website, Jewel Consultancy, like the diamond, Jewel consultancy.com. And you can either email or um, text me or call me, from the website. And there's stuff there too to get to know me better. I have a blog, I have free videos. There's stuff written about the coaching and the mentoring and the other things that I do. So you can see like, you know, do I like this person or not?
Right. Well, I will put your links in the description to make it easier for folks to find you. But
Okay.
Arlene, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. And I also want to thank all you folks out there. If you are new to the channel, I hope you'll come back. Please hit that subscribe button. From our regulars, you guys are awesome because you make it possible for me to do this. Until the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network